I know it was a couple of weeks ago, but just walk us through the Halifax defeat. How do you kind of reflect on that? I know you've had time to work on things this week, but how do you look back at it?
Yeah, I thought Halifax did to us exactly what we did to them the week before. I thought, we came up with far too many basic errors, and again, as discipline let us down. So I think I said after the game, credit to Halifax. I thought they put their fix-ups in, and ultimately we need to get better, don't we? That's a couple of games now, in my opinion, that not that we've thrown away. That's definitely not words I'm looking for, but that we've not given ourselves the best chance with our own ill discipline. So we've been the masters of our own downfall as such. So it's easy fix up for us, which is sort us discipline out and the basic handling errors. So that's what we've been going after for the last 2 weeks now.
Yeah. Do you put that down to just individuals to kind of sort out, or do you as coaching staff put anything in place to I guess mitigate that at all?
Ultimately, as head coach, it's on me, isn't it? I've got to make sure that we provide an environment that players feel comfortable enough to fail in, so that they can work on their errors in training. But yeah, as it gets nearer to that match day, players have got to take a bit of ownership on that as well. But ultimately, it's a collective effort. But as head coach, that's my responsibility to make sure we've got that training environment right.
You did nearly get out of jail with it though, within 2 points with 6 minutes left before Halifax stole the ball and kind of crashed over. Are those the kind of fine margins in games like that? And I guess you can look at the narrow defeat to Toulouse as well. You've just come up on the wrong side of those fine margins.
Yeah, I think the beauty of the Championship is that most teams can beat anyone on the day, and ultimately we've learned some pretty harsh lessons at the start of the year. So, I didn't think we really started playing how we wanted to play until that last 20 minutes of the game. But ultimately, you've got to give Halifax credit. I thought they were excellent in how they went about the defensive application, and shut us down. But I thought we definitely looked a little bit disjointed up until that last 20 minutes, and we started to look a bit more, what we want to be known for.
I guess it's telling, is it? Those fine margins can look all the more stark when you look at the league table. Still to pick up that first league win of the season, is that something that's playing on the mind at all?
I don't think playing on your mind. Listen, we're 3 games in, and I don't want to brush over that fact that we haven't got the win yet. But ultimately, it is still early in the year. In saying that, do we want to be 3 games in? No, we don't, without the win. So we'll be doing everything we can to correct that come Sunday. And hopefully over the next 5 or 10 games, it'll, we'll get a more accurate reflection of where we want to be this year. But yeah, listen, we're disappointed, very disappointed, and none of us are happy with it. But at the same time, we know that it's on us to sort it out. So. Last week we got after some really good training, and this week, we've obviously been able to train a bit heavier earlier in the week because we didn't have a game. So, we'll be doing everything we can to rectify that come Sunday.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think the bye week in some respects has kind of come at a good time for you?
If you'd have asked me straight after the game, no. But yeah, listen, we've refreshed a few mentally. A few injuries. Are a week closer to getting back, so it probably did in that sense, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Ultimately it's on us to get it sorted, and the sooner we can, then the better, in my opinion.
You mentioned the injured players that are maybe a step closer this week. Are there players that have benefited from the 2-week break in that respect? Yeah,
we should have Joe Law back in contention, so he's definitely got through that. Jax O'Neill should be two weeks now, so he's a little bit closer. He's just started full training with the team. We lost a couple though. We lost Will Dagger, obviously, in the warm-up. He was just doing kick-offs, believe it or not, and he's looking like he's going to have a lengthy layoff of 2 to 4 months. We've had a scan, and he's got some tendon ruptures around his hip flexor around there, so that doesn't sound pretty, around his quad. Atarin Garner broke his arm halfway through the game, broke his hand, sorry, not his arm. So he played half a game with a broken hand, so he's looking at 3 to 4 weeks, so I suppose the bye weeks give him that extra week, but we're hoping he only misses 1 to 2 games tops. So yeah, we get it there. There's still enough talent, in my opinion, with what we've got, and there's enough collective togetherness in that group to to grind out them wins, even with a couple of us as key men missing. So good chance for other people to step up, and show what they can do. So looking forward to seeing them in action as well.
Yeah, obviously you brought Joe Brown in to replace Will Dagger at the fullback position, and he's just returned off an injury layoff for the hip injury. How did he do? Did he kind of come through relatively unscathed, no setbacks?
No, yeah, he's trained fine since. We kind of rushed Brownie back, if I'm honest with you. He should have probably missed that last week, but you couldn't tell, could you, how he went about his business. So, Brownie's back. Obviously we brought Bish in, which is an handy addition now. So, there's enough cover there to make sure that, in my opinion, we've still got enough strike out there to compete how we want to compete.
Atta's obviously going to be a big loss in your halves, though, isn't he? Are you confident you've got enough depth there? Do you look at, you're bringing Taylor Pemberton in? Where do you look at the cover for Atta, do you think?
We've got some cover options there. You'll have to wait till Sunday to see what we do. But yeah, listen, I've got full faith. You look at guys like Liam Harris is obviously still there as captain, as leader in that sense. You've got Sam Cook that's played a lot of 9 there. Paul McShane's played 7 as well. So there's young Jack Potter. So we've got enough options there to cause us a few things to think about. But ultimately, it's in my opinion, it's a case of sorting his own game out, which is getting that composure about us, keeping that clinicalness about us in defence, not giving teams easy outs by coming up with some sloppy discipline, and keeping hold of ball. When we're in right areas at field, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see where we've been failing at the moment. So I think they're the things that we need to fix up first and foremost. And regardless of who's in them positions, it's just a case of making sure as a team that we're fixing them collectives.
I understand Connor Fitzsimmons has had a bit of a setback though. That swollen ankle is a bit worse than you feared. Just give us an update on Connor.
Yeah, Connor, he's looking at 6 to 8 weeks out. So he was back training and his soleus pulled, so just under your calf muscle. So yeah, that's a bit of a sucker punch for Connor. But as I said, it's also a good chance for other people in the squad to step up. I think Harvey Reynolds he's really gone about his business well in pre-season, so it'll be a good opportunity for players such as that to put the foot forward and cement a spot in that team.
We spoke about Harvey in pre-season as well as one of the players that just maybe had to bide his time, do the right things in training to get that opportunity as well. Yeah,
I thought in the cup game versus Halifax, I thought he were outstanding, and obviously we brought him off the bench the week before. And listen, he's got a great future in my opinion as Harvey, and we've just got to keep on showing that faith in him. And all he's got to do is carry on taking it game by game when he gets his chance, making sure he takes them and getting them runs on the board.
And Jacob Gannon also dropped out of that 20-man squad. That's another injury, I understand.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. He had a cyst removed from a pretty invasive area on the just below his spine and near his his bum cheek. So pretty awkward spot for Jacob. I don't think he could sit down for a couple of days. So he should be back in full training tomorrow. I don't know if this week's probably going to come a bit too early for him, but yeah, I don't think there's any long-term injury there. It's just a case they had to open pack the cyst, obviously for infection. So it's been a bit of a not too comfy 10 days for Gano while he's had that sorted.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Jack Martin, having served that 1-match suspension, I'm assuming he comes back in, does he?
Yeah, as long as he gets through the next 2 training sessions. I think Jack's been in great form at the start of the year, so I thought we missed him last week. He does a lot of that unselfish efforts that maybe people don't realise, and I thought we definitely missed his robustness through that middle.
Then coming, obviously one of your former clubs. What sort of test are you expecting?
Yeah, they've got a great win against Widnes. The last league game, they had to put a bit of a different team out versus Lee in the Cup, but we're expecting a very tough game. You never play a Batley team that's anything but, especially at Mount Pleasant. So we're expecting a real tough game, sort of game that we want to be involved in, if I'm honest with you. It'll test our character, test our grit. So I think Mark Moxon's an excellent coach. I think he's doing a fantastic job over there. I actually got coached by Moko when I was there at Batley, so I know exactly what he's about. He'll have a very well-drilled team, very organised, and a team that will be playing football 80 minutes.
Yeah. Did you look at that result, the heavy loss to Lee, as a game to scout, or did you go straight to the Widnes game? Do you look at which games you can, I guess, take the most learning from in that respect? Yeah,
like as recent as you can, you look for which games you're going to get the most learning from. I think the Widnes one's probably going to give us a more accurate reflection of what we need to be looking at. So, yeah, we've had a look at both, if I'm honest with you, and a couple more. But as I say, we also need to, at this stage of the year, we need to make sure we're playing well as well. It's all right identifying strengths and weaknesses of your opposition if we're not doing basics at game well, which is keeping teams pinned in areas that you want them and not coughing up ball when you're in areas that you want to be.
Yeah, one player they're going to be without is Dane Manning after that 8-match suspension for the punch in the rivalry game. What did you make to that incident? Do you perceive 8 matches as a little bit harsh or about right, or what do you reckon?
Listen, I think Dane's a fantastic player. He's been around Championship for many a year now. I think the guidelines are set very clear for everyone to see. So regardless of my own personal thoughts on it or whatever, everyone knows that if you throw punches, especially in a bit of a dust up how that game was, there's going to be a consequence for it. So yeah, I'm sure Dane will be back, bigger and stronger than ever. And unfortunately for him, he's got to sit out for a couple of months. And you can see why the sport's doing it. You can see why, especially with all the the new rules regarding concussions and things like that. I don't think it's the sort of look that the rugby league want to be about anymore. So I think most times now when there is that sort of fracas, whereas before it used to get slotted one on the jaw. Now it tends to be a bit of fisticuffs and a couple of strong words, and that's about it. So it is what it is. You feel for Dane, but at the same time, he knew the rules, and it's not really for me to comment on the length of the ban, is it?
Yeah. In the meantime, though, they have brought in a couple of handy players on loan in Sam Marshall and Elliot Paposhi as well from Bradford. What do you make to? I guess what they're trying to do there, we're bringing in some young players on loan as well, but with a bit of Super League experience there as well.
Yeah, listen, they've got some great, and then they have Brad Martin, obviously from Lee, who I know well from his time at Castleford. They've got some great loan players that obviously couldn't play in that league game. So yeah, listen, we're expecting a very tough test against Batley Bulldogs. They've got some fantastic players in their own right as well, and obviously Moko's been scanning market for players that he thinks going to add some strength. So we know we're in for a tough game come Sunday, and we've just got to make sure that our own standards are where we want them, and it's got to make us for a good game again, hasn't it?
With that in mind, are you scouring the player market at the moment, or are you happy with the squad, albeit with the amount of injuries that you've got? Do you need any cover there at all?
I think you've also got to show faith in the lads that you've signed as well. It's pointless signing players if you don't give them a chance. So I'm a big believer in that too. But in saying that, people's got to make sure they're earning that chance. And if good players do come along, I'm lucky that Clint's pretty active and proactive in doing that side of the the business. So he'll always bring names to me that he feels will add value to us, and as head coach, ultimately it's up to me and Clint to see if the player that we're getting in is A, going to add value, and B, fits into the sort of mould that we want York Knights to be about.
Yeah, and it's a couple of weeks since we last spoke about this, but we spoke about the assistant coaching role as well. Are you any further forward in either adding to that or holding talks or recruitment at all for that?
We spoke to a couple. No further along at this moment in time. I think it's really important. We don't rush it. It's not a case of just identifying a target. It's being able to obviously secure them after that. There's a lot of people under contract. There's a lot of people, that might be priced out of our range and things like that. So it's not just as easy as going, we'll take this person and get in there. But yeah, we're still actively having a scan. But Paul McShane's obviously took a bit more of ownership on his coaching duties as he's been doing, and then you've got Will Leet that's been doing a lot behind the scenes. So I've also got full faith in them too to carry on doing what they're doing, and Yeah, it's been good. I think it's just been a good environment. You know, as silly as it may sound to a few, like there's still a lot of positivity there. You know, they're a real tight group, and we know we've not hit the standards we want to accept, and you know that's part of my job as head coach, to take responsibility for that. So I'll be doing whatever I can to make sure that our team gets better and starts hitting them sort of heights that we want to be known for.
Do you also kind of rely on the players to do a bit of that sort of management as well? I know that Liam Harris, when we spoke to him after the game, was bitterly disappointed and kind of said we just need to cut this out at source really now.
Yeah.
Do you allow the senior players in the squad to have a bit of kind of leeway to I guess implement a bit of their own in that respect? Or?
Yeah, listen, it's not school. You know, you're talking about grown men, so of course there's ownership there. You know, I think them days, you know, school teacher versus pupils are long gone. I've always liked to play a led environment. You know, my job's obviously to create them boundaries and make sure that it's a positive environment. But ultimately, I don't know, I'd be embarrassed if I did have a group of men that I didn't let them have their own voice. You know, as I said, it's not school. It's professional sport, and sometimes you need to have them awkward chats and them honest conversations, whether that's player to player, coach to player, or player to coach. So, yeah, I think we've got a real good environment in that sense. We're just got to make sure it starts transferring into results on the field.
Just the two questions from me. First of all, check, is there currently any update on Taylor Pemberton? Has he got some sort of shoulder injury?
Yeah, Taylor, he just banged his AC joint, so he's fine. I think we just had to bring him off in that game because it had really aggravated it. But, you know, come the Tuesday, he'd settled right down, and then we just looked after him last week, and he did a pretty heavy contact session last night. So, you know, he'll be back available for selection, yeah.
And just on Batley as well.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, I know it's the same for both teams, but does the effect of the slope on the pitch have any sort of to change your tactics going into the match?
Well, no, as you've just said there, it's the same for both. I mean, I played enough games on it to try every tactic you could think under it, and I actually used to prefer playing up the hill because obviously you're defending down it. So yeah, it's same for both teams. You know, as I said, I've never been a big believer in you know, trying to make out as though field's, you know, the deciding factor in a game. Obviously, Batley will know how to play it well, but you know that's part of the fun, isn't it? You're going to get one half where you're going up it and one half where you're going down it. It's up to us to make sure that we just keep his own standard where it needs to be in both occasions.